Hello, welcome back to Popcorn Chat, and this week's video, which is an in discussion with, and this week we have Physical Media Forever, also known as Alex, and I met Alex through Instagram, and he does some great sort of Blu-ray and DVD film reviews. So how are you today, Alex?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Recording this on a Monday evening, but my Monday's going pretty good as Mondays go, so
Yeah, it's
that's all
not too
good.
bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
So in this week's episode, we're going to be talking with Alex, and we're just going to be firing some questions at one another. We've both written 10 questions. We've not told each other what the questions are going to be, so this should be interesting. So what we'll do is we'll just sort of alternate the questions, if that works for you, Alex, just to mix it up and
Yeah,
get
that's cool.
sides of that. So should we just crack on with the video? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Do you
Who
want to
wants
go
to?
first?
Shall I go first? I'll ask you then.
You're the boss. It's your channel.
Okay. My first question to you, Alex, we'll start you off easy. So that is, who are your top three directors?
Ooh, okay. It's when people ask me this, I feel my answers aren't very inspiring because they're all the generic ones that
Hmm.
people say. So it would have to be, I would say, Stanley Kubrick
Yeah.
would be one. Um, I really like David Fincher. I've
Hmm.
never watched one of his movies that I've gone, it was all right. They've all been great. And Tarantino as well.
Oh, okay.
Pretty obvious choices, but
Yeah.
I think what I like about directors is when you can watch a film and you can say that's definitely this person's
Mm.
film.
They've got their own
But
sort of style, haven't they?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. What
Oh,
about
nice.
what about?
Well, I was doing a Instagram story on this, as I think it was top five earlier today. And if I was to condense it down to my top three, I would probably say Denis Villeneuve, the French Canadian director who did like Arrival, Prisoners, all this. I just love his style. Edgar Wright, I think he's sort of a classic sort of comedic director, British director. And then I would probably say Spielberg. I think Spielberg's just a classic, just the type of films. Everyone's grown up on like a Spielberg film. So again,
Definitely.
like they all have their own styles, but all very different.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So
I'm
what
nervous.
would you say? Huh?
I'm a bit nervous what you're going to ask me.
No, it's an easy one. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously most people watch films, but
Hmm.
for yourself, what do you think would have been the film that made you get into critiquing? What was the film that made you, oh wow, there's so much more to this than just a film?
Hmm. I guess I'm thinking back to what films I watched when I was like sort of 17, 18. I feel like it was those sort of like coming of age films. Um, I would probably say it sounds really obvious again, but I would say Fight Club. I think that was when I first sort of witnessed Fight Club. Again, obviously David Fincher, but I think that was the first time I started to analyze it, and then I read online about it. The whole sort of Brad Pitt sort of popping up as these burns, and I was like, oh wow, okay, films have like so much more meaning. When you watch them again and again. I just thought it was so stylistic. So it sounds like an easy answer, but I probably would say Fight Club. Yeah.
No,
What about?
it is a great film because
Hmm.
with Fight Club, I think it's a film you can watch it for the first time and you go, oh my god, that was amazing. But then you can watch it countless times after that, and you can still pick out things that you didn't see previously.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. For me, it's a bit of a weird one. Um, I think it would have to be The Mummy,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
Frasier, because I
Interesting.
remember watching that when I was quite young. It's rated 15, and I think, and I was younger
Really?
than,
I didn't realize it was a 15. Wow. Okay.
yeah. I think I watched it. I don't know, maybe I was about 9 or 10, but um, I think it was. I'd never seen anything like that before at that age. I was like, oh, this it's funny, it's adventurous, it's got comedy, it's and scares obviously as well.
Mm,
I
yeah.
remember the film. That was the first ever film I bought on DVD,
Oh,
and I just
okay.
uh, watching all the special features and everything like that, and looking into how it was made and things like that. So I think that might have been the first kind of film that I thought there's more to it than just what's on the screen.
So even when you were that young, you thought, okay, I need to start analyzing films.
Yeah, I just took an interest in it. I was like, oh, so that actor's been in this film, and I've seen that one, and that actor's been in that one, and they did things together, and I was like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just really enjoyed doing that.
Okay, so my next question for you. So what was the first film that you saw at the cinema, if you can remember?
Oh wow. It won't be the first film I saw at the cinema, but the earliest back I can remember was Toy Story 2,
Mm,
which was 1999. So I would have
wow.
been 6, I guess. But I remember seeing it twice in the same week. I think I
Wow.
think I can't really remember earlier than that for films anyway. But yeah,
That's a good first cinema experience though, if
yeah.
that's your first one. Nice. Yeah,
What
I
about
think
you?
mine was I think I've asked my mum this. I think it was Mulan, which when I've looked up the date, I was like, I was 3 or 4. I was like, I can't imagine a 3 or 4 year old going to the cinema. But yeah, obviously, I think at that time it was like Disney or Pixar, for a lot of people. But I remember going in and like well, my memory serves me right. We sat right at the top of the cinema, and it was just empty. So it must have gone like I must have been before school, so it's probably in the day.
Right.
But yeah, and I love Mulan now. It's like one of my favorite Disney films. But yeah, I think it was Disney. Disney's Mulan.
Right. What film do you think has the best soundtrack? Whether that's actual songs or just a score.
Hmm. Because I do listen to like film like soundtracks and scores. Like there's a playlist on Spotify that I listen to every now and then, like just to work with, like as background music. So I don't listen
Mhm.
to like albums as a whole necessarily. I mean, I think the one that's jumping out to me, well, there's two. I think they're obvious ones. So I would say either like Lord of the Rings, let's say like Fellowship, that sort of magical sort of first experience of the world. I think it's just beautiful. Like it's so iconic to me personally. And then I would also say the Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the
Oh,
soundtrack's it's really good. Whether the films necessarily are good or not is different, but I think the
first one.
music,
The first ones.
the first two films I quite liked, but then it just sort of went on a weird storyline. But yeah, it's the soundtrack for both those films and franchises. I think is iconic, and I think I was listening to The Dark Knight, or I went into like a Batman, Christopher Nolan kind of
Oh, right.
trilogy, and like that's actually it's quite like delicate. A lot of the songs, there's some really I can't remember the titles of them, but I think that one's Hans Zimmer, that one. But it's really yeah, there's some really nice songs in there. But yeah, I'd say so. Like, there's more like franchise films like Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then of a more so like a specific film, I'd say something like The Dark Knight. Yeah.
For a soundtrack with like actual songs, um,
Mm,
again,
yeah.
obvious one, Pulp Fiction soundtrack. It's
Yeah. More like the
fantastic.
jukebox kind of
Yeah.
recognizable tracks. Yeah.
I think that's what's so good about Tarantino because he takes these really obscure songs that people don't really know of, and then now everyone knows them and they're so popular and they're all in other stuff as well.
Mm, yeah.
But for a score, another obvious one, um, Star Wars, John
Mm,
Williams. Um,
yeah.
not just like the main. I think um, with that film and like the original trilogy, there's not just one theme that people remember. It's like there's 7 or 8 different themes that are just as iconic as each other, and
Yeah.
you can just start humming them, and it's like ingrained. Everyone knows what it is. I just think it's brilliant. You know.
Yeah, it's like internationally known, isn't it? Like you could go from, is it oh, I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, so I'm gonna probably mess up the names, but you got like is it the Cantina, like the bar song? You've got
Oh, do, 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 do,
yeah, and then you've got
do.
like is it the Death March or so? Not Death March, but like
Imperial
the
March.
Storm Imperial March, that's the
Yeah.
one. Death March, oh my god. But yeah, they're iconic. Like you could just hear someone like humming the song and you would know it and sing it and
That's
yeah.
what I mean. You just said that you're not a fan of it. Well, you're not a big fan, but you
No.
still know the soundtrack.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, I'd
many?
say the music is one of the more iconic things. And, see, when the title rolls at the beginning, I think that's probably the most memorable part for me as not a massive Star Wars fan. Um, Yeah, I think it's iconic across all of the sort of the trilogies that they've made.
Yeah.
So, what is a film that you love but everyone hates? Like, what film do you see people like hyping up all the time? You're like, actually, I don't really like that film.
Oh, so other people love, but I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, you've stumped me on this one.
I thought this was an easier question.
No, there's honestly, I can't think of a film that I hate, because I try and find something good in a
Yeah.
bad, and a movie that I find bad, most people agree with.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think the most recent one that I can think of, and I don't know if this is a popular one. I recently watched the Maze Runner trilogy.
Yes, I've seen all of those. Yeah.
When it comes to like young adult fantasy action, most people say, "Oh, the Maze Runner trilogy is actually one of the better ones. It's not quite as good as Hunger Games, but it's better than Divergent and stuff like that."
Hmm.
And I was bored.
Mm.
I was like, ugh. And I watched all three. I thought they've got to get better, because I was like,
It
oh,
gets worse.
I know. The
The
first
first
one,
one's good. The first one, I saw it at the cinema. I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. And then the second one, I was like, okay, we're adding like some kind of zombie element. And then the third one, I was like, little fingers in it. What's going on? I don't know.
yeah,
It was
out there
very
in the
bizarre.
storm. Yeah, but no, I had them on Blu-ray, and I thought, oh no, they're going in the trading pile. I'm not going to watch them
Yeah,
again.
get your money back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fair answer. Yeah, I'm sure there's something you'll think of after. Like, oh, I should have said that. Or if
Thinking
someone
about
brings it up in conversation, you're like, of course, I don't like that film.
I'll mention it.
Yeah,
Um,
save it next time.
what is your opinion on the whole streaming service and the sort of state of cinema now? You know how it's no one's going there, and
Mm.
do you think it's ever going to be the same? Is it just going to go straight to streaming? How do you feel about it? Paying for all these services.
That's a very short, concise question. I I think everyone's obviously relied upon like the streaming services in the last year, especially, and I think a lot of films were moving that way anyway. Like you had a lot of Netflix produced films like The Irishman, like that was even Oscar contended
Mm,
last year.
I
And you
got
got
stuff.
Amazon Studio and stuff. I've not watched it. I'm gonna
No, I've got it.
I got
It's on
three
my phone.
hours.
I've not seen it yet.
No, no, I'll work my way around to it eventually. Um, but yeah, I was having this discussion earlier with like the Oscar nominations coming out for like this year, and I was saying like I've only seen probably three of the films that have been nominated, and that's mainly because they've not been put on a platform, be it a streaming service or a website where you get behind like a paywall legally at least. So I thought I'm a bit disappointed in the sense that cinema at the minute hasn't embraced it. I think those sort of platforms are great for like reaching out to different audiences. You know, you might watch a film that you think, oh, just scroll across on Netflix, whatever, like, oh, we'll give this a go, that you would never give, or you wouldn't pay £10 to see in the cinema. But I do love the cinema experience. Like, I would
Yeah.
love, I can't wait for cinemas to open. I went last year to see Tenet. That was sort of the only sort of big film I saw in the gap in lockdown. And I loved it. And the sound just, I think it damaged my eardrums because it was so loud. But I hope that cinemas come back, but I think there will be a bit more balance with stuff that's put on there like straight away. Like I think Disney will definitely sort of capitalize on that. I know they make a lot of money, obviously, from like cinema takings because of family tickets and things like that. But I think they will still have an option. But I don't know. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky once it all sort of loosens up and like everything starts to go back to normal. But
I thought I just wait for them to reopen, for these big films to come out. Like
James Bond or something.
Big Bang, Black Widow.
Yeah,
Just see them.
blockbusters.
They're worth waiting for,
Hmm.
and worth paying the money to see them on the big screen. But it's been gone on for so long now. I'll get it on my
Yeah,
telly.
exactly. Yeah.
Maybe once things get back to normal, I don't see them releasing massive movies like that on streaming services straight away.
No,
Uh,
not for the average cinema goer like the James Bonds and June or any of the Marvel films. I think they'll still be because they make the money. I think that's the problem. It's just money making. But maybe some of the indie films might go to a bit more online. I think it's just money.
That was a deep one. Okay.
Money drives everything. End of the video. Okay, well, this one's nearly that question, but it's not. It's about streaming platforms, but it's a different angle. Okay, so what streaming platform do you go to most for films? Is it like Amazon, Netflix, iPlayer? What do you use most?
Right. So, well, the services that I've got Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon.
Mhm.
Right. I don't really use them for films because I've got a real big collection of actual physical media, right?
Yeah.
So
Hence the name.
yeah, hence the name. So I've probably got more in my collection that I've not seen than I have.
Wow.
And what I'm doing, I'm trying to reduce the collection.
Mm.
So I watch a film that I've not seen, and I don't like it, I'll get rid of it. And recently, there's nothing that sort of grabbed my attention on the streaming services that I thought, yeah, I really want to watch this. I do use it for mostly TV shows.
Mhm.
I've used Disney Plus quite a lot, especially since Stars come on.
Yeah.
That's good stuff on.
Yeah, that's a great addition to Disney.
But what's annoying me is when there's something that's coming out or has been out for a little bit, and it's on like Apple Plus or
Oh, yeah.
Now TV, and I'm just like, I don't want to pay just to watch this one show. They're releasing the Zack Snyder's Justice League on Now
Mm.
TV, and I don't have it. And I thought, do I want to pay? Maybe we'll see.
We've got Sky at home, so I might have to watch it downstairs on the TV, but
Yeah, I don't
still.
have. I think maybe I'll just use the 7-day free trial and.
Oh, I've already done that. I've done the 14-day trial before, and I've ran it out. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting that you don't really use it for films. But then again, like I guess last year, like we were just saying, like a lot of the modern films haven't been put on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're great for TV, definitely. Like, I don't really watch much like terrestrial TV or anything recorded at all. I just watch TV shows that came out 10 years ago on on different platforms, really. But I use them for films quite a bit, to be honest. But then again, I realised how many like classics that I've missed out on. So Netflix is quite good for that one, and Amazon.
Do you think that in the past 10 years or so, we have been oversaturated with superhero films and TV shows? Is there too many of them?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Like I used to be quite a big Marvel fan. You know, the whole sort of divide. I was much more into Marvel films. I've only seen a handful of DC films, but then again, I quite like the odd superhero film that's a little bit different, like Joker or Kick-Ass and things like something that plays on the idea of superheroes. I think that's a lot more interesting. But yeah, I think there's a lot of superhero films, and obviously that's now gone on to like Netflix, like they've got their own shows and stuff like Daredevil and things like that, and Arrow and all this. There is a lot of superhero content, but I would have loved that as a kid. I don't think I remember seeing that much, well, TV at least, and a lot of cinema stuff. There was a few dodgy Batman films when I was younger, but
Yeah, we were the crap ones.
yeah, we had Batman Forever and all that. I still watch them, like the superhero films. I won't lie, but my passion for them has sort of deteriorated a little, and I don't watch any of the TV shows.
That sounds so
Like
sad.
that. I know, I'm growing up. I think that's it.
I think I did a favor, if people ask, because during the start of this lockdown, I thought, right, I'm going to watch the whole MCU, and including
Yeah, I know a
TV.
lot of people did that.
But so I found this guide online, and it was like where to watch the films, where to watch the TV shows, how to watch it all in chronological
The order, yeah.
And it took forever because there were so many TV shows. But you don't have to watch the TV shows because they really don't impact the movies at all. So, spoiler alert, but you don't. It's fine. Daredevil's great. Jessica Jones is pretty good, and WandaVision you should watch as well. It's cool.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not going to impact the movies.
So are there any films that you have had to pause and like stop watching because you're like, it's either just like so bad, or you're like, hang on, I need to look up something. I'm so confused what's going on. Have you ever had to do that? Like watching like a Blu-ray or anything? Is there anything you're like, this is what's
Um,
going on?
yes, I have. I know I've had to do that with. I remember the first time I got Inception on Blu-ray when it first came out, because I didn't see it at the cinema, but
Oh, okay.
did have to go back. I've not seen Tenet yet, but apparently that's one that's going to stump a
Yeah.
lot of.
Yeah. See, I got Inception 10. I was like, what? I get it now after watching like loads of theory videos, but I got Inception like as soon as I left him. I was like, okay, I like this.
You're smarter than I am, but yeah. But no, I don't. There's not been one recently that I don't think. If I have done, it's just because I've not concentrated enough on it. It's not because of the film. But yeah, there's sometimes when you can watch like bad movies, like low budget bad films, and you're just like, there's a total scene missing there. Something's happened that they've not put in the film.
Yeah.
What? But that's just bad filmmaking, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Yeah. You just sort of roll with it. You're just like, what's this going on? But you know, you just sort of have to roll with it. But yeah, I was just curious to see if there's any sort of films that were that bad. You're like, what's going on?
Okay. Can horror movies be scary anymore? Because do you think we've just become desensitized to horror films? Can they really be scary?
For me personally, I'm not that scared of it. Like obviously I was when I was a bit younger, but there's so many sort of subgenres within horror. I find like um sort of like gore and things like that, zombies, you know, these sort of things wouldn't terrify me, no way. Well, not as an adult at least. But those sort of more like slow burners, like there's certain like shots in like Hereditary which were just absolutely terrifying in the sense like, you know, they're not so jumping out. I don't think those ones are scary anymore. You can just anticipate those.
Yeah.
But things that just like, oh, is that something hiding in the dark behind that person's shoulder? Or, you know, you just have to really see those details.
Punches on top of the wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally think The Conjuring is one of the scariest films I've ever seen. I
Yes.
find it absolutely terrifying. I saw it once, and once was enough. I thought it was horrible. And like when you see like, I don't know the character's name, but like you see her makeup, I think the makeup's terrifying as well. But then again, like I've gone back and watched a few sort of older horrors. Like I rewatched The Exorcist not too long ago. I think it was like Halloween time, and it was creepy again, like the makeup and the idea of it. But um, what I like about old horror is it's not necessarily about like jump scares; it's about like characters and stuff like that. So I think older horror is good, but when you go into like 90s, 2000s, it was the cheap jump scares,
Yeah, definitely.
which I think everyone's sort of guessed when the jumps are going to be now. But those, yeah. So will it be? Are they still scary anymore? I think, yeah, I think it depends. I think you can. Depends. I'm sure the massive horror fans, you know, if anyone's watching this, I'm sure like, well, none of them are scary because you know that's what you're into. You don't find them scary. But for me, as an outsider, if I jumped in and watched The Conjuring, Insidious, The Babadook, anything like that, that would terrify me. Just that any sort of like poltergeist thing like that, that would absolutely terrify me. But if I was to watch a horror, I like the more sort of psychological horrors, the slow burners. So Hereditary, Sinister, I really enjoyed. Us, Get Out,
Yes.
those sort of films. Like I like those as modern horrors go. I think they're a lot more clever and well paced. That's just what I personally enjoy.
No,
But
yeah.
yeah, there's scary films out there. So I don't know if we've been desensitized. It depends.
If something's genuinely scary and makes you feel scared, you know, when, like you said, how there's you not necessarily a jump scare, but just the atmosphere of it is just generally unsettling, versus versus a jump scare. Because when it comes to a jump scare, it's not that it's scary; it's just that it makes you jump. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? the hand on the shoulder needs to stop. I hate that. It's so stupid. The big
Yeah.
music in, and also what I think the music in those kind of movies really damage the effect of the scare, because you'll have this music that increases, and then you'll have that Inception sound.
Yeah.
Goes quiet, and you just know that there's something gonna pop out as soon as it goes quiet.
They just follow like a recipe, don't they? They follow like a template every time. You're like, at least
But
be a little bit more original.
That's why I like the Us and Get Out and Hereditary, because they do it different and it's good. It's not for everyone's taste, but I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Similar to sort of like a death row meal, like what would you have for your last meal? My question to you is, what would be the last film you would watch on death row? Just one film.
Just one film.
Just one film. Or we say, or should we say like the trilogy box set? I don't know.
If we're going for a trilogy box set, then I'd go for the Lord of the Rings extended edition, because that's just like a full day and a full extra day.
Just prolonging your death.
Full extra day of living. Yeah. I'd
Very
pick that.
tactical.
That's a pretty epic film series to go out on.
Yeah, definitely. Any sort of fantasy, anything like that. That would be a nice sort of last image, I feel. That's a good shout, actually.
Okay. Controversial one, maybe.
Okay.
If you
Go on.
Can you, or do you think people should separate art from the artist when they need to?
That's a big question.
That is a big question.
It's difficult because I've done it in instances where we've just touched upon one there, for example, like Harry Potter. I mean, I don't agree personally with what the writer of the books has said about personal things. A lot of people have boycotted things like that, or like Fantastic Beasts with certain actors' involvement in them. But then there's some cases where, for example, let's say like Buffy, like that's a TV show that I've recently sort of enjoyed and loved. And then, there's certain things that come out about people who've produced it. I'm like, but I had such good memories of that show, and so many other people have, and the actors have had a different experience to, everyone else. So I don't know. I'm very torn on that. Like, because sometimes I do separate the art from, the artist, especially if they've done something wrong, shall we say. Those are the times I'm like, nah, boycott that person, or I won't follow that person's work anymore. So it's a hard one. It depends how passionate I am about someone's film or TV work. What about you?
Most cases, yes, because I think when it comes to film or music or whatever, there's more to it than that one person. I don't think that you should let that one person damage the work of everybody else. And I mean, it is a tricky one. I remember watching it, like you said before about Joker. There's that scene where he's dancing down the stairs.
Yeah, the song by Gary Glitter, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I thought, this is a great song. Who's this by? This is a banger. Why have I never heard this one?
Heard it at One Tree Hill the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, someone like Roman Polanski. He's a bad guy, but he makes good films.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle. It's like, no, I don't like the guy. I don't support anything that he's done. He can't film anything outside of Paris because he's a fugitive, right?
Yeah.
And I remember he won an award quite well a couple of years ago, and when they announced his name that he'd won it, people walked out. I mean, rightly so. I don't think that he should win anything because he's a criminal, but tricky one. He makes good films.
I think if it's like especially stuff they've done in the past, I think you can appreciate that sort of stuff. But any sort of new projects that they choose to do after like any sort of allegations or anything like that, then I'm a bit like, but if it's the past work and it happened before things came to light, I think it's different. I think you can separate the art from the artist, definitely. Do you have a particular actor who like you're obsessed with and you will watch anything that they're in? I know you sort of go on your sort of like actor sort of tangents, you work your way through like their filmography, but is there anyone that you would watch any film or TV show they're in, regardless whether it's like shit, you're like, I will follow this actor, whatever they do?
I mean, Nicolas Cage probably, because I think he's entertaining no matter what the, whether the film is bad or anything like that. He is the best thing about it, and I don't know, I just get a kick out of watching him. I think he's a weird guy.
From what I've heard, he sounds very weird. I think what number wedding is he on now? Is he like fifth wife or something?
Fourth or fifth.
Yeah. He's very usual. I've only seen one film of his, and that was Kick-Ass.
You've only seen one Nicolas Cage film?
Yep. I've not done that deliberately. I've only seen one of his films.
You're definitely missing out on some good ones there.
Yeah, I've heard there's good ones like Adaptation. What else is there? What's the one he did with Cher?
Oh, Moonstruck.
Yeah, I see that one come up a lot, quite a lot on like Instagram and stuff like that. I see that come up. I think is it Willy's Wonderland? Was that his latest one?
Yeah, that's his newest one, I think.
Yeah, I think I've heard quite good things about that one actually.
Yeah.
But no, I should watch more of his work.
This might be an easier one for you. It's not as deep.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, the movie about your life. Who's playing you?
Do they have to look like me at all?
No, like.
Well, who can do an English accent? It has to be someone English, I feel. Because it can't have someone butchering an accent like an American doing it. Well, that's what I think anyway. I'm trying to think if is it like so it'd have to scale like through my life then, wouldn't it? So I guess we'd have like a child actor, teen actor, like me now.
I was just thinking about you now.
I'm thinking about this too much. Who would I choose? I'm trying to think of someone. Trying to think of someone young-ish, brown hair. Or they can dye their hair, that's fine. I would either say Saoirse Ronan or Florence Pugh, I would say, at the minute. Yeah, I feel like, well, we obviously both have to dye their hair at the minute, but I think Florence might be a bit smaller than me, so if we're going for accuracy, I think it's a bit off. But yeah, well, they're two of my favourites, sort of like modern, like young actresses at the minute that I love their work, and I think they would do me justice. And I think Saoirse's done an English accent. I think she has.
Yeah, she can do.
Atonement and other things, I feel like she's done an English accent. Yeah, so I'd say either Florence Pugh or Saoirse Ronan to play me.
Good choice.
Yeah, what about you?
Well, I wasn't too sure. Not too long ago, I shaved my head. That's because my hair used to be a bit longer, and then I went, and I got so many comments saying that I look like James McAvoy. Being too kind, because he's a handsome man.
He is.
Actually, okay, so maybe James McAvoy, but with the personality of Martin Freeman. So I think a combination of the two, maybe.
Just pulling like faces, like just.
So the handsomeness of James McAvoy. Not saying that I'm handsome, but people who play people in movies.
Ego just like
people, a lot better looking than the people who they're playing, and then just the moodiness of Martin
I like
Freeman.
that. That's a good combination. What TV show are you watching right now? Obviously not right now because you're on a Zoom call, but
the X-Files.
Yes.
Right now, I'm doing a read through of that. So I'm on season 6 so far.
How many series are there?
There's 11 seasons and 2 movies.
2 movies?
So I'm about halfway through.
How many episodes a series? Because I know Americans like to have like 22, don't they? Is it still 22?
24 episodes, I think. Yeah.
Gosh. I'm so glad they changed that to like 13 or 10, like limited series. I prefer.
Well, actually, the last two series of it, the new, because they stopped and then the new ones brought out, so they only have like 10 or 13.
Oh, okay.
But it's 1 through 8, 1 through 9 are like 24 episodes. So
yeah, I'm doing a similar thing. I'm on One Tree Hill at the minute, which I thought was only about 5 or 6 series, and again it's the 22 episode structure. But no, I looked again and it's 9 series. I was like, for God's sake. Okay. But again, I think it does that thing where I think the last couple of series they only get like 13 episodes, whether they had less budget or they were going to it was going to run its course. I'm not too sure. But so yeah, that's my first time watching through One Tree Hill. So that's my main focus. But I'm loving it. Like it's so like 2000s cheese. Like they've just got like flip phones, webcams. Love it.
Is it a funeral home? Is that what I'm thinking of?
No. They like play basketball in their high school.
Oh, right. Okay.
What are you thinking of?
I was thinking of 6 Feet Under.
Oh my God, very different.
My bad, sorry.
Very, very different. But yeah, it's very high school, like relationships and stuff, but I quite like it.
What is a remake that is better than the original?
I'm not a fan of remakes. That's a good start. There's things like that, like you don't even know that are remakes. There's certain things like I didn't know that was an original film. A remake that was better than the original.
If you don't like that one, what about a sequel better than the original?
Ooh. A sequel better than the original. Shrek. I think Shrek 2 is better than Shrek 1.
No, I agree with you. I think Shrek 2 is better.
I think it just like it opens the whole world into like it's like the Hollywood sort of thing, isn't it? And the godmother and like Fiona's family. I love Shrek 2.
I'll give you that. It is a better film. Well, I don't know if you consider it a remake because it's not the same story. But as much as I love Sylvester Stallone in Judge Dredd, the 2012 Dredd with Carl Urban is amazing. So it's not really a remake, but it is the same character. But
yeah, I watched that for the first time last month. I haven't seen the Sylvester Stallone one, but I know the character has been used in different like there's a Swedish guy I was talking to and they've got like a similar sort of character, and I think it's like this, is it comic books? So there's some kind of comic I think it originally stemmed from.
The British comic, 2000 AD.
Oh, it was British. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, no, I quite liked the Carl Urban one. It was very stylistic again with the sort of the slow-mo and the drugs and all this. But I've not seen the original, so I can't say it's better than the original. But I did enjoy that.
It's very cheesy. It's good, but that one is better.
This is a bit of a simpler one, but what would be your top 3 Disney films? So I'm not talking Pixar, I'm talking Disney animation.
Disney animation. It's probably going to be the ones that I watched most growing up with. Mm-hmm. The Renaissance era, I think it's called. So Hercules, Aladdin, possibly, and there's another one.
Like Lion King? It's all like the 90s films, isn't it? Yeah, Lion King, Hunchback, Pocahontas.
No. What was it? What's another one? Throw them out to me.
I'm thinking 90s. Mulan, Pocahontas. What else was around that era?
Oh, Treasure Planet. Yes.
Oh, Treasure Planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love Treasure Planet. I remember going to McDonald's after seeing it in the cinema, and they had like the toys. And I think I remember getting like, was it like the pink squishy thing? I think I had something like that. I don't know what the names of the characters, but
I watched it a few days ago. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to see that film again. And I've got Another good one, which I wouldn't say is in my top 3, but it's literally right here. It's the same sort of ilk, which is Atlantis. So yeah, I think I had again like some kind of McDonald's toys, but that was that same sort of era, wasn't it? It was like quirky Disney.
Yeah.
Like
It
people
didn't do
nowadays wouldn't class these as classics necessarily. They think of like Lion King, but I think this was a good one,
I
personally.
like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said Hercules. Hercules is one of my top 3 films. Like the soundtrack, the story, I love it. The whole Greek sort of mythology about it all. Yeah, I love that film. The villain, like Hades, is so good. The voice acting is brilliant. Yeah, Hades is one of my Hercules is one of my favorites. But then I also quite like the sort of like the 70s sort of Disney films, like the hand drawn era. You know, when they started like just using the overlays again and again. You know, like Robin Hood and Aristocats are like exactly the same drawings and things like that. I quite like that sort of era of Disney too. But
What I used to like about those old 70s and 80s Disney films is, you know, like when a character would, before they would interact with something, you know what they're going to interact with. Like if they were going to pull a book out from a bookshelf,
it's like a separate layer, isn't it? Like
it's different. It's a different color from all the other ones.
Yeah,
but yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah, I like most Disney films, to be honest. I sort of skip like the really early ones, you know, like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. I kind of like missed those sort of princess ones, shall we say, as well. But yeah, then he sort of I liked a lot of the animal ones, so Aristocats, Robin Hood, and then I jumped to like the 90s, Hercules, Milan, early 2000s, Atlantis, Treasure Planet, all that really.
For me personally, I can't remember the last time I saw a comedy film, like a new comedy, one that's new in the last 2 or 3 years, that was genuinely laugh out loud, hilarious, and memorable. And a lot of times when people talk about comedies, it's usually comedies from like the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s maybe. Do you think comedy movies can be as funny as they used to be? Or do you think because there's a lot of stuff in those early movies that you just wouldn't get away with today? So
yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good question. It's interesting because I would say this is probably quite controversial, but the comedy genre within film is one of my least favorite genres.
Okay.
I prefer comedy television. I don't know why that is. I just think it's a better platform of comedy. I feel like it's everything's just rushed and like, oh, it's joke after joke in a film. But in terms of films, I watched fairly recently. I watched Game Night, which when it came out, but I really, really enjoyed that film. I went in with fairly sort of, I heard it was good, and I went and like, oh, okay, sort of glasses half full kind of approach to it. But I was actually howling with laughter. Like I really enjoyed it. It was my sort of humor, and there was twists and turns. So it was quite a clever comedy. So I quite liked that. And then if I think of other comedy films, I know a lot of people are into certain groups of people. Like you have in recent years, it's like your Will Ferrell's, your Ben Stillers, Adam Sandler's, those sort of groups of people that made a lot of comedy films. And then 80s and like even so, it was like a lot of SNL people, like Bill Murray, comedy actors within other films. What's the guy who was in Uncle Buck and Trains Trains? Yeah, John Candy, Eddie Murphy, all these sort of comedians, shall we say? I think a lot of comedy films that I know people really like talk about or love at the minute are films that they watched 10 years ago. And I think it's when you watch it and who you watch it with. A lot of people watch those sort of like Will Ferrell films that's, Sleepover or whatever. Like, I think it's the nostalgia maybe of them. Whether that's going to happen with newer films like Game Night, Tag, like I can't think of any of the comedies at the minute, but I don't know.
You can't think of any new comedies that are memorable. Do you know what I mean?
Game Night and Tag, that's it. That's all I can think of because I watched them recently.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Out of all the new comedies,
yeah, I can't think of a comedy that I've watched and at least enjoyed within the last, what year are we in now? 21, 10 years.
I was thinking about that a couple of days ago, and I'm like, I can't remember the last time I watched a straight up comedy that was good, that was new.
I guess the last one I'm just thinking about at the minute I can see on my shelf is Bridesmaids. I know that's very sort of niche, and it run its course, and a lot of the actors tried to sort of emulate that style in other films and stuff. But when I saw Bridesmaids, I thought it was hilarious. I saw it in the cinema with my mum, and I thought it was pretty good. It's very sort of crude humor, all female like comedians, and I loved it. So that must have been about 10 years, not 10 years ago. No?
10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably the last film that I remember, like a modern one, and I think people will watch that one again and again, especially like don't want to be sort of gender specific here, but like sleepovers or like a hen party or whatever situation. I think it's a good sort of social film that I think would sort of stand the test of time for a while, I think. So my final question to you is, what did you think of Martin Scorsese's comments about the sort of the superhero films and the Marvel films, saying that they're not cinema? How do you perceive them?
I understand. I think I understand what he was trying to say. I just don't think he worded it very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit I've not listened to the whole thing about what he said, but I think he likened it to like a theme park or something like that.
I think so.
I kind of get what he's saying in a way, because if you weren't into it, it does look like it's all the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look back at all the movies of the past 10 years, number one is always going to be a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So I kind of get what he's saying in a way, because it's a completely different cinema experience than something with some of his work, like The Irishman or Gangs of New York or Goodfellas, something like that. Something where it's a more grounded, real story that I guess has real acting in it, I suppose. I kind of get what he's saying. But again, if you were to watch these superhero films, at least the good ones, there is great acting in it. And especially the MCU, I think what they've done over 10 years is build up such an empire. I think they've done an incredible job of it. So I don't necessarily agree with what he said, but I sort of understand it, because you can't put, as good as the Avengers is, you can't really put it in the same category as
like Wolf of Wall Street or something. Or
yeah, you can't. The completely, both are amazing for different reasons, but yeah, I get what he's saying, but I don't agree with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I understand where he's coming from, definitely. Like, you're never going to see Avengers or whatever Marvel film contending for Best Picture, are you? Like, it's going to make the money, it's going to get people in the cinema and stuff like that. But in terms of storytelling and sort of recognition against, like, amongst other sort of like fans of cinema, like, I don't want to say like proper cinema, but something that's, because every film is character driven, obviously, and story driven, but I think the Marvel films sort of know their audience, don't they? They know they're either for like families or like Marvel nerds. That's like the main two target audiences, including us. Whereas like a Scorsese film, a Fincher film, whatever film it is, it can reach so many different people. It's readable on different levels. Like, you could read a Marvel film and look at the Easter eggs and stuff like that. But other, I guess, more traditional cinema films that win awards and things like that do have a different layer to them compared to Marvel films. They're not necessarily going to be blockbusters. Like, you get really quirky films that get recognition, and like indie films, they never had the intention of making money, whereas I think maybe the superhero films have just relied on that a little bit, and just sort of, we know our audiences. So yeah, I think the same. I think Scorsese was coming from a good place, but I think the phrasing just upset a lot of people, and sort of maybe I think a lot of the sort of bigger Marvel nerds, shall we say, took it a bit to heart. But if you understand film and have a general love of film, you can see where he's coming from. I think it's totally fair, to be honest.
as a film fan and a cinephile and someone who critiques film, same as me, because I think this about myself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You ever feel about yourself, stop being so pretentious? It's a bloody film, just watch it. I feel that way about myself sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure my mum would probably feel the same. She's like, "Can you just stop telling me what like every film the actor's been in, or can you stop analysing it?" I remember like when I went into university and I did like film production, and my lecturer said to us on the first like, "You're never gonna watch films the same way again." We're like, like really funny. Like, no, you won't watch the films like in the same way at all, and that's what happened, like, because I studied it and I was like, I knew the behind the scenes, I knew how camera setups worked and editing. I was like, so everything I watch now is ruined. So I've always got that in the back of my head, like, I know how to film that, or you know, that wasn't one take. Like I had 1917 when I went and watched that in the cinema, I was like, they've just cut behind that rock. I know they have, it's a clear cut, I can see it plain as day. Whereas everyone was like, oh, that's really smooth. I'm like, it's not. Because I'm just analysing. I'm like, no, it's not.
When I watch a film with someone else, I kind of think, how does this person see this film? And then I kind of go, it's not actually as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes like you hype it up a bit too much as well. You're like, oh, this is a great film. Oh, actually, if I just watch it as the average person, or take out like the cinematography elements, oh, actually, it's not that good. Yeah. That's an interesting question though, but I don't think I'll change. So I wish I could be more, you know, just sort of middle ground and remove myself from the analysis of it all. But I think I've just become an analytical person in films and TV. So
a nerd.
Yeah, aka a nerd. That's what we are. That's why we're doing this. We're talking about films. We're nerds. So I think that about wraps up this week's video. So thank you for joining me, Alex. Hopefully this gives you one like a better idea about myself and you. Hopefully people are interested in what you've got to say as Alex, as well as myself. You gave me some great questions there. So where can people find you, Alex? Is it on your Instagram, Twitter?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at PhysicalMediaForever, where you can find the best written movie reviews this side of your screen. Okay. And I am also on Twitter somewhere. I can't remember the name of
I'll put the link below if you want me to.
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't really use it that much. It's mostly Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram's great. If you're massively like into like Blu-ray collections or DVDs, definitely check out Alex's page. Have you enjoyed yourself, Alex?
I have. Yes, this has been very fun, very informative. It's good to have the same kind of interesting questions thrown back at me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to have a chat with fellow film fans.
Yeah, it was great because we've obviously only like just spoken on Instagram and stuff, so it's great to have like a virtual face-to-face kind of
definitely
meeting. But yeah, so hopefully everyone's enjoyed watching this video. If you want to get involved in the future, feel free to give me a message on Instagram or leave a comment or tweet me. Any sort of way you can get contact, pigeon mail, whatever you prefer. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this discussion and I'll look forward to the next one. So I'll see you next week for another popcorn chat.